महाउत्सव की, जन्माष्टमी महाउत्सव की, जन्माष्टमी महाउत्सव की, गौर प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल. So yesterday we did part 1 of this series of 3 days. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow. We will be from Srila Prabhupada's Krishna Book, which is the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. We will be reading and discussing the advent of Lord Krishna. And so far, what we learned yesterday, that Vasudev and Devaki have been arrested by Kamsa, because what happened is, when, as promised, Vasudev brought the firstborn child to Kamsa. Previously, on the chariot, when Kamsa was driving Devaki and Vasudev home, at that time there was a sound that came from the sky saying that, "Oh fool, Kamsa, you are actually driving your death. The 8th son of Devaki will kill you." So immediately, being a demoniac person, he tried to kill Devaki by catching her hair mercilessly and took his sword out to sever her neck. And at that time, Vasudev uses a lot of logic, explains so many different things, philosophically speaking, that you are not this body, you're a spirit soul, death comes to everyone. Why do you fear death so much? But somehow the other, he could not convince him. And finally he says that, okay, the problem is the 8th child of Devaki, right? It's the children. So right now we don't have children. Why are you worried? This should not be a concern. And if the children come, I promise you, I will come with my children, all of them, and hand them over to you, and then you do whatever you want. So Kansa knew that the word of Vasudeva was as good as gold. It was as good as gold. So then he let go his sister Devaki. And then Vasudeva and Devaki went home. And after about a year's time, the firstborn baby arrived to them. And as promised, Vasudeva was promised as to his word. He goes and gives that child, goes to Kansa's palace, and the firstborn is here. You can have it. With a very heavy heart, Vasudeva goes, not knowing what the consequences would be. So Kansa felt a lot of compassion at that time. He says, no, actually the predicament is that the 8th child will kill. So I don't need the first child. So he says, you can take this child back. So Vasudeva was very surprised, because he knew that Kans is such a person that one moment he's like this, another moment he can be like that. But then he was joyful that at least, the first baby was spared. Now, after Vasudeva went home, in the first chapter, it is described that Naradji arrived. And Srila Prabhupada mentions that Naradji came and told Kansa that, look, all the Devi Devtas are already taken birth in the Yadu dynasty. They have taken birth in the Yadu dynasty, and they are your enemy, and you should not trust them. What is the guarantee? They said it's the 8th, but it could be the 1st or the 2nd or the 3rd or the 4th or the 5th or the 6th or the 7th child. You cannot trust them because it's some Devi Devta whose voice came from the sky, and they are your enemy. So they can cheat you, possibly. So then Kansa immediately arrested Vasudeva Devaki and killed the firstborn child mercilessly. So why would Naradji do something like this? So it is understood by our acharyas. They have explained Naradji wanted to escalate, no running. Krishna, shh. Thank you. So he wanted to escalate the arrival of Krishna because the demoniac forces were so extreme that it had become urgent. Supposing if we have some emergency where there is gunfire outside or where there is a large fire, you cannot wait. You need emergency help response right away. You need the police or the fire department right away. Correct? So similarly, Kans, he wanted to actually, oh, thank you. He wanted to, he wanted to escalate the arrival of Krishna. So that is the reason he kind of incited Kansa. And actually speaking, it is said that Kans mercilessly killed all the other 6 children that arrived. So here we find in the second chapter the prayers of the demigods for Lord Krishna in the womb. So King Kansa not only occupied the kingdom of the Yadu, Bhoja, and Andhaka dynasties and the kingdom of Surasen, but he also made alliances with all other demoniac kings as follows: the demon Pralamba, demon Baka, demon Chanur, demon Trinavrata, Agasur, Mustika, Arista, Dvivida, Putana, Keshi, and Dhenuka. At the same time with Jarasan, who was the king of Magadha province. Today it is known as Bihar, the state of Bihar in India. It used to be known as the Magadha province. And thus by diplomatic policy, Kamsa consolidated the most powerful kingdom of this time under the protection of Jarasan. He made further alliances with such kings such as Banasur, Bhaumasur, until he was the strongest. Then he began to behave most inimically towards the Yadu dynasty, into which Krishna was to take his birth. So this is how the demons work. They want to go against Krishna. They want to kill Krishna. And that is our demoniac even today. Mostly people are becoming atheists. They don't believe in God. Some people argue, where is God? Show me God. There is no God. Such arguments are made. So that is a demoniac mentality. Killing God or killing Krishna. That is the mentality of Kamsa. So when Kamsa was killing the 6 babies of Devaki and Vasudev, one after another, many friends and relatives of Kamsa approached him and requested him to discontinue this heinous activities, this heinous crime. But all of them eventually became worshippers of Kamsa. So this is the situation even today we find that somebody who is extremely powerful, whether he can be a politician or even sometimes in the institutions or even in the corporate environment or even in religious institutions, we find that if somebody is in a very powerful position and if they happen to do something wrong, then the people are scared to speak. And in fact, they are shameless and spineless, and they even end up supporting those persons. The same thing happened with Kansa's relatives. So when Devaki became pregnant for the 7th time, a plenary expansion of Krishna, known as Ananta, appeared within her womb. And Devaki was overwhelmed with both jubilation and lamentation. She was joyful, for she could understand that Lord Vishnu had taken shelter within her womb. But at the same time, she was sorry that as soon as the child would come out, Kamsa would kill him. At that time, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, being compassionate upon the Yadus, who were fearful due to the atrocities committed by Kansa, ordered the appearance of Yogamaya, his internal potency. So, in this material world, it is Mahamaya. Mahamaya means she is in charge of the 3 modes of material nature, Tamogun, Rajagun, and Satogun. And she ties us in this material world, guna means rope. Like we get arrested and we cannot escape this material world. Ah. And the only way we can escape this material world is to bhakti. But those who are under the pure bhakti and who are dedicated to Bhagwan, then they are under the control of Yoga Maya. So here specifically, Prabhupada is mentioning that in this chapter that Yoga Maya is the principal potency of the personality of Godhead. In the Vedas, it is stated that the Lord, Supreme Personality of Godhead, has multi-potencies. Parasya Shakti, Vividhaiva Shruyate. So all the different potencies are acting externally and internally. And Yog Maya is the chief of all potencies. So Yog Maya, even in Vaikuntha Dham or in Krishna Loka and Golok Vrindavan, she has a very prominent role. She makes everybody forget that Krishna is Bhagwan, and especially in Golok Vrindavan. That's her job. Because if you know Bhagwan, then there is pranams and dandavats and awe and reverence. But when you don't know he's Bhagwan and you just spontaneously love him, then there is a certain sweetness. Like for example, when Krishna ate mud at Brahman Ghat in Gokul, Mother Yashoda said, Krishna, I heard that the boys were complaining. Even Balram told me that you are eating mitti, you are eating mud. Open your mouth, Krishna. So Mother Yashoda wanted to see, and he said, And he says, no, open your mouth, I want to see. Krishna says, He didn't open his mouth. Little baby Krishna, perhaps only 3 years old. So then Mother Yashoda said, Krishna, open your mouth. If you're lying, then that's not good. And then Krishna, she opens her mouth, and what does she see? Immediately, Yoga Maya removes her potency, and she sees that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All the different creations she saw in his mouth. And she saw not only the spiritual creations, she saw the material creations, she saw all the Devi Devatas, the demigods, she saw all the universal forms, and then she even saw her own Gokul, and she saw herself sitting under the tree, trying to see in Krishna's mouth, and she was perplexed. What happened? I'm seeing things in the daytime, I'm dreaming. This is just my baby boy. So then Krishna immediately kind of, chastises Yoga Maya. What are you doing? You're spoiling my relationship with my mother. She is chastising me. I like that. She doesn't want to, she should not be knowing that I'm the Supreme Lord. And you are showing her that I'm the Supreme Lord by removing your spell. So that is the beauty of Yoga Maya, makes us forget Krishna is the Supreme Lord, and Mahamaya makes us forget that there is God or there is Krishna. So the difference is Yoga Maya enhances the pastimes, the sweet pastimes of Krishna, and brings devotees closer to Krishna. And even she makes Krishna forget that he is the Supreme Lord in Gokul, in Vranj, in Vrindavan. Because he has given Yoga Maya a blank check, signed, do as you please. Just make sure that, that sweetness and the love of the Vrajvasis and my love for them is not inhibited by opulence. So that is what Yoga Maya is. So Srila Prabhupada mentions that all the different potencies are acting externally and internally, and Yoga Maya is the chief of all potencies. The Lord ordered the appearance of Yoga Maya in the land of Rajbhumi and Vrindavan, which is always decorated and full with beautiful cows. So in the Brahma Samhita it is mentioned, Surbhi Ravir Palayantam Lakshmi Sahasrashata Sambrama Sevyamanam Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. In Brahma Samhita is another wonderful verse that gives a description of Golok Vrindavan, the supreme abode in the Vaikuntha or the Krishna planet. Shri Akantaha Kantaha Parama Purushaha Kalpataravo Dhruma Bhumis Chintamani Ganamai Toyam Amrutam Katha Ganam Natyam Gamana Picha Vamshi Priya Sakhi Chidananda Jyoti Paramapi Tada Swadhyamapi Cha Sayatra Shirabdi Surabhibhyascha Sumahan Surabhibhyascha Sumahan. He's tending to Surabhi cows. Surabhi cows give, they're very special cows. They give unlimited milk. And they are found abundant in the spiritual abode of Gokul or Golok Vrindavan. So that is the description that is given, that in Vrindavan, which is always decorated with full with beautiful cows, in Vrindavan, Rohini, one of the wives of Vasudeva, was residing in the house of Nanda and Queen Yashoda. So Vasudeva had more than one queen. Devaki was one of them, and one of the principal queens was Rohini. But because he was afraid that they both got arrested, so immediately he sent Rohini under the protection of Nanda Maharaj, his best friend, in Vrindavan or Gokul. And she started living with Yashoda Mai and Nanda Baba in Gokul. So, like this, not only Rohini, but many others in the Yadu dynasty was scattered all over the country due to the fear and the atrocities of Kamsa. Some of them were even living in the caves of the mountains. The Lord thus informed Yogamaya, my dear Yogamaya. Actually, who is also Yogamaya? We have her on the altar. Behind us, Jagannath, Baldev, and Subhadra Devi. Subhadra Devi is Yogamaya. So we should pray to her when we are standing in front of her. Right now, I am under the influence of Mahamaya, under the influence of three modes of material nature. But please give me shelter at your lotus feet so that I can become a pure devotee. And instead of Mahamaya controlling me, it is better that you control me so that I can enter into the sweet pastimes of Krishna in Shuddha Bhakti. That should be our prayers to Subhadra Devi. She is the sister of Krishna. So, Yogamaya is instructed by Krishna, and that you shall appear as the daughter of Nanda and Yashoda in Vrindavan. Krishna instructs Yogamaya that you will appear as the daughter of Nanda and Yashoda. Since you will appear as my contemporary sister, and since you will quickly satisfy desires for sense gratification, people within this world will worship you with all kinds of valuable presentations like incense, candles, flowers, and offerings of sacrifice. So, who appears? Yogamaya's expansion to Mahamaya. She actually appears, and in the material world, Krishna says everybody will worship her as Durga for satisfaction of their material desires. So if one prays to Ma Durga, they get all their material desires fulfilled. So that is what Krishna says. So the expansion or the shadow of Yogamaya is Mahamaya. Like that, he instructs Yogamaya to appear in Vrindavan as Mahamaya, as his contemporary sister. And you, under the different forms of expansions, will also be named as Durga, Bhadrakali, Vijaya, Vaishnavi, Kumuda, Chandrika, Chandika, Krishna, Madhavi, Kanyaka, Maya, Narayani, Ishani, Sharda, and Ambika. So these are all the names of Durga Devi or Parvati. They are all expansions of Yogamaya in the material world. Krishna and Yogamaya appeared as brother and sister, the supreme powerful and supreme power. Although there is no clear distinction between the powerful and the power, or the energy and the energetic, power is always subordinate to the powerful. We have to understand that Maya is dependent on Krishna, but Krishna is not dependent on Maya. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that Maya is under my control. She works under my Maya Suyate Suyata Suchara Charam. She works under my direction. So, uh, uh, those who are materialistic are worshippers of that Shakti, or they are known as Shaktas. They worship Durga Devi. But those who are transcendentalists are worshippers of the powerful, of who? Krishna is the supreme powerful, and Durga is the supreme power. So, in the Brahma Samhita, there is a wonderful verse that describes who Durga Devi is. Srishti Sthiti Pralaya Sadhana Shakti Reva Chayevya Yasya Bibarani Bibarti Durga Ichha Anurupam Abhi Cha Cheshtate Sa Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Durga Devi, who is the shadow of Krishna's potency, Haladini Shakti, who is none other than Radharani. And Radharani's expansions are Yog Maya, Vrinda Devi, Purnamasi to enhance the Leela. So in the material world, Chaya means shadow. She is the shadow of the Kaya, or the real object. And Ichha Anurupam Api Cha Cheshtate. So according to the will of Krishna, she conducts her business, her job, her seva in this material world. Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Lord Brahma says, therefore I offer my obeisances unto the Prime One Lord, Govinda. So, like this, it is mentioned here that they worship Durga Devi for material things. The Lord also declared to Yogamaya, my plenary expansion, Ananta, Sesha, is within the womb of Devaki. So the seventh child now, he is already in the Garbha, in the womb of Devaki. On account of being attracted to the womb of Rohini, he will be known as Sankarshan. So by the Yogmaya's arrangement, when the seventh child was forcefully attracted from Mathura, from the womb of Devaki, to the womb of Rohini in Gokul, the forceful attraction is known as, actually in most of our Indian languages, or even is called Gurutva Karshan. Karshan means to attract. And because he was forcefully attracted, Krishna himself declares that he will be known as Sankarshan or as Balram. In the Upanishads, it is stated, Nayam Atma Bala Hinena Labhyaha. The purport is that one cannot attain the supreme platform of self-realization without being sufficiently favored by Lord Balram. So Balram is the Adi Guru. He is actually the Sandhini Shakti of Krishna. And if in order to understand Krishna and his pastimes in Vrindavan, we need the mercy of Lord Balram or Lord Nityananda. Vrajendra Nandana Sachishuta Hoilo Shahi, Balram Hoilo Nitai. About 535 years ago, Lord Krishna came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. On the altar, we see on the left side, when we are facing two figures with their hands raised. Who are they? There is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and on his left is Nityananda Prabhu. They are none other than Krishna and Balram, who came in Kali Yuga about 535 years ago in Gaudadesh, or in West Bengal. They appeared. So, Narottam Das Thakur says in one bhajan, Nitayer yadi karuna hobe vraje harada Krishna paibe. If Lord Nityananda shows his mercy, then we can obtain the association or the seva of Radha Krishna. Nitay yadi karuna hoye vraje Radha Krishna paibe. And Srila Prabhupada, I remember many years ago, I had read the purport of Srila Prabhupada of that bhajan, Nitai Pada Kamala Koti Chandra Sushitala Je Chaya Jagata Judaya. In that, when this part comes, that only by the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu, we can attain Radha Krishna in Vraj. So Prabhupada said, if you want to enter the dance party of Radha and Krishna, then you must worship the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. So at that time, it was too early and people would not be able to understand what Ras Leela is. So Srila Prabhupada, in a very, very easy term, said, if you want to enter the dance party, people in the West, they like to party, right? They like to go to the big parties and small parties, and the bigger the parties, they want to be invited. They are very special if you get invited to some of the most special parties, right? So Prabhupada says that if you want to enter the dance party of Radha and Krishna, then you must worship the lotus feet of Nityananda Prabhu or Lord Balram. So like this, it is mentioned here that therefore Lord Nityananda, who is also the incarnation of Balram, is the original spiritual master. And the spiritual master is the representative of Balram, the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead who supplies spiritual strength. So also, just as a side note, even when we go back to Golok Vrindavan, hopefully in some lifetime, there also we will have Guru. Who is our Guru? All our acharyas in the form of gopis and led by Ananga Manjari, who is none other than Lord Balram, who will give us instructions how to actually Nikunja, Rati Keli Siddhya Yaya Libhir Yukti Rapekshaniya Tatra Ati Dakshat Ati Vallavasya Vande Guru Sri Charnarvindam. We will understand the conjugal pastimes of Radha Krishna in their private kunjas or the Nikunjas. And because they are expert in their service under the supervision of the different Manjaris, including Ananga Manjari, they are very dear to Radha and Krishna. Kinto Prabhoya Priyeva Tasya Vande Guru Sri Charnarvindam. So, therefore, it is said that the spiritual master is the representative of Lord Balram. So, Srila Prabhupada is a representative of Lord Balram. Anybody who represents Lord Balram or Krishna perfectly, then they are true gurus. Otherwise, we find that there are many types of gurus in this world, but they are not able to take us home back to Godhead, not at the lotus feet of Lord Balram, not at the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna. So, we have to understand, and in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is confirmed that the spiritual master is the manifestation of the mercy of Krishna. Yasya prasadat bhagavad prasado, yasya aprasadat na gati kutopi, dayan stuams yashastri sandhyam vande guru Sri Charnarvindam. That's the last verse that we sing every day in the Mangalarti. If the mercy of the spiritual master is there, yasya prasadat bhagavad prasado, then we receive the mercy of Radha Krishna or mercy of Krishna Balram. Yasya aprasadan, if we do not get the mercy of the spiritual master, no gati kutopi, there is no advancement. Therefore, I remember my spiritual master 3 times a day, Dayan Stuams Yashastri Sandhya, in the 3 Sandhyas, early morning, at sunrise, when we do the Gayatri, and at midday, the second Gayatri, the second time, and at dusk. So at that time, those who are Brahmin initiated, there are 2 Guru Gayatris that we meditate on. And that is the reason of course, we meditate more than that, but minimum Dayan Stuams Yashastri Sandhya. At the confluence of these 3 Sandhyas, we remember especially begging the mercy in the Gayatri by chanting the Gayatri mantra of the Gurus. There are 2 Gayatri mantras in our Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. We chant those Gayatri mantras. So, when it is mentioned also that when this was done, people thought, actually, it is mentioned that when Lord Sesha was transferred from the womb of Devaki to the womb of Rohini, both Rohini and Devaki were under Yogmaya's spell, which is called Yoga Nidra. Yoga Nidra is a transcendental sleep. Just like Lord Vishnu also goes to sleep. All 3 Vishnus, Mahavishnu or Karanadaksai Vishnu, Garbhodaksai Vishnu, and Shirodaksai Vishnu, Shantakaram, Bhujakashayanam. So he is simply reclining and sleeping. Actually, it is said that there is 6 months that he goes to sleep. And after that, he changes his side. So that on a particular Ekadashi, I forget the name, he changes his side. This comes after the Diwali time. And at that time, it is the Lord awakens. But even though he's sleeping, Prabhupada mentions it is Yoga Nidra. That means even in his sleep, he can create so many universes. It's like not like us that if we go to sleep, we forget about the world. We cannot remember what's going on, but he knows everything what is going on. Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaya Muhyanti Yat Surya. So, Abhigya Swarat, he knows everything directly and indirectly. So, when this was done, people thought that Devaki's seventh pregnancy had been a miscarriage. So, because the infant in the womb, the soul in the womb, was transferred to Rohini, Devaki's womb, people thought that she had a miscarriage. So, thus, although Balram appeared as the son of Devaki, he was transferred to the womb of Rohini to appear as a son. After this arrangement, the Supreme Personality of Goddess Krishna, who is always ready to protect his unalloyed devotees, entered within the mind of Vasudeva as the Lord of the whole creation with full inconceivable potencies. It is understood in this connection that Lord Krishna first of all situated himself in the unalloyed heart of Vasudeva and was then transferred into the heart of Devaki. A very important point to know that the Lord appears within the heart of his pure devotees. Narottam Das Thakur says in one bhajan, Ei bar karuna karo Vaishnav Gosai, patita pavan toma vine kehonai. In that bhajan he says, Tomara hriday sada Govinda Vishram, Govinda kohena Vaishnava mama pran. Within your heart, because he manifests in the heart, he's in the heart of everyone, but he manifests in his original form in the heart of the pure devotee, so that he can see his pastimes, his beautiful pastimes, especially those that are in the Gaudiya Vaishnava line. They see his pastimes in Gokul, just like Satyavrat Muni. He sees those pastimes. What is that? That fourth or fifth verse, where he says that idam te vapurnatham gopala balam sada me manasi avirastam kim anye. So eternally, Satyavrat Muni, a pure devotee, is able to see the pastimes of Lord Krishna in Gokul as a child within his heart. So Krishna or Baldev, Krishna appeared first within the heart of Vasudeva, and then it is not by normal means that a husband and wife they actually have their union and the child is born, just like the Immaculate Conception of Jesus Christ. Similarly, Devaki, from the heart of Vasudeva, by simply the glance of Vasudeva, the Krishna who was in his heart was transferred in the womb of Devaki. When Vasudeva was sustaining the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart, he appeared just like a glowing sun. So then we can see that the effulgence was amazing, whose shining rays are always unbearable and scorching to the common man. The form of the Lord situated in the pure, unalloyed heart of Vasudeva is non-different from the original form of Krishna. The appearance of the form of Krishna anywhere and specifically within the heart, within the appearance within the heart is called Dham. So we all say, right? New Vrindaban Dham ki Jai. Or we say Vrindaban Dham ki Jai. So what does Dham mean? Dham means where Krishna resides eternally. So the heart of Vasudeva is a Dham. The heart of the pure devotee is a Dham. Thakur Bhakti Vinod says, Jatha Vaishnava Gane Sai Sthan Vrindavan. Where there are Vaishnavas assembled, then that place is Vrindavan, Dham. Because Krishna is Tumara Hriday Sada Govinda Vishram. Krishna is always residing in your heart, and therefore it is Dham. Dham refers not only to Krishna's form, but also his name. So what a beautiful realization Srila Prabhupada is mentioning. That when we are chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, that is the Dham, because the holy name is Krishna. Nama Chintamani Sri Krishna Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha, Anitya Mukta Siddho, Abhinna Namna Namindo. The holy name is like a touchstone. Nama Chintamani Sri Krishna Chaitanya Vigraha. It is a live person Chaitanya means living. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Vigraha means embodiment, not some energy or some light or some Brahma Jyoti. So that is what the Shastras say. And what is the result when we chant? We are associating with Krishna and we get fully liberated eternally. Nitya Mukto. Nitya Mukto, Nitya Shuddha, and we get eternally purified. So we do not come back in this material world. Takta punarjanmaneti mameti. So Arjuna, Krishna says that in the Bhagavad Gita. Those who come to me, they are fully purified and they will never take birth in this material world. Abhinnatvam namnanamino. Abhinnatvam means non-different. The name of Krishna and Krishna himself. So when we chant the holy names nicely, we are actually, that is also the Dham. So his paraphernalia, everything becomes manifest simultaneously because everything is an expansion of Lord Balram. Thus the eternal form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead with full potencies was transferred from the mind of Vasudeva. And where is the mind located? Mind is located in the heart. Srila Prabhupada says Buddhi is located up here in the brain area, but the mind is located within the heart. So from heart to heart, from husband to wife, Krishna was transferred into the womb of Devaki. Exactly as the setting sun rays are transferred to the full moon rising in the east. What a beautiful analogy. That is what I'm always amazed when we read Vaishnavas, when they write. We have a wonderful Vaishnava here. He also is writing poetry, different poems. Nityadit Prabhu, he have written. Somehow or the other, that is one of the qualities of Vaishnavas. It just passes through. We are sincere. Krishna within our heart inspires us to write something about him, to speak something about him. So that inspiration comes from him. And of course, him means his potencies as well, the pure devotees. So the Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, entered the heart of Devaki through the heart of Vasudeva. And since Krishna was there, it is to be understood that all his plenary expansions such as Narayana and incarnations like Lord Nrsimha, Varaha, they were with him. And they also were not subject to the conditions of material existence. So none of the personalities of Godhead, they are conditioned to the material world. They have the same potencies as Krishna. So in this way, Devaki became the residence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is one without a second, and the cause of all creation. Sarva Karana Karana. Devaki became the residence of the Absolute Truth, but because she was confined within the house of Kamsa, she looked just like a suppressed fire or like misused education. Srila Prabhupada is amazing. Somebody may be very knowledgeable and somebody may have all the treasure in the world, but if it is misused, then so similarly, it appeared that it's like misused education. Although she had, the Supreme Lord had taken abode in her womb because of her being trapped in Kansa's prison. When fire is kept in a jug, the illuminating rays of the fire cannot be very much appreciated. Similarly, misused knowledge, which does not benefit the people in general, is not very much appreciated. So Devaki was kept within the prison walls of Kamsa's palace, and no one could see her transcendental beauty, which resulted from her conceiving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Kamsa, however, saw the transcendental beauty of his sister Devaki. So Kamsa used to visit every day the jail because he was always fearful that the child can appear anytime. Naradji had put in his mind that these Devi Devatas, these demigods are very tricky. They are your enemies. So anything can happen anytime. Any child can be your killer. So out of fear, he used to visit the jail every day. And when he saw this time that Devaki had a very special effulgence, she had a very wonderful aura around her, he could distinctly understand that there was something wonderful within the womb of Devaki. In this way, Kamsa became perturbed because he was sure that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who would kill him in the future, had now come. Kamsa began to think, what is to be done with Devaki? Surely she has Vishnu or Krishna within her womb. So it is certain that Kamsa has come to execute the mission of the demigods. And even if I immediately kill Devaki, his mission cannot be frustrated. So this is amazing. Sri Prabhupada mentions that Kans knew that the mission of Krishna will never be frustrated. Even Ravan knew that the mission of Lord Ramachandra could not go in vain. Ravan was a great Pandit. He was a great Brahmin. And he was very well versed with the Vedic knowledge. And so was Kansa. It is not that even Kansa was not aware. But still, because of the heavy modes of Avajananti Mamamuda Manusham Tanamashritam, people think that Krishna is a supreme, is a simple person. Fools and rascals deride him. And Prakriti Kriyamanani Gunai Karmani Sarvasa Ahankara Vimudatma Kartaham Viti Manyate. Under the influence of the three modes of material nature, the foolish person is thinking that I am the doer. So, even though sometimes we are situated in knowledge, even in our devotional life, we find that devotees also, we sometimes behave in a very, very ruthless way or in a very bad way, although we know so many things. So that times we have to understand that the mode of ignorance and passion is more predominant in us. So we know so many things, but in spite of that, the application is not there due to the realization not there, because due to that full surrender not there to Krishna, to Guru and Krishna. So like that, he's contemplating. No one desires to kill his reputation, even in an awkward situation. So Kansa is thinking, he's thinking of the words of Vasudeva that he said on the chariot when he was driving them home. Look, you're a great king. You're a great Kshatriya. It doesn't look good on you. Your reputation will be at stake when you kill a woman, and especially your sister, and especially on the occasion of her wedding. What will people think? What will happen to your reputation? So even in an awkward situation, if I kill Devaki now, my reputation will be spoiled. Kansa is thinking like that. Devaki is a woman and she is under my shelter. She is pregnant. And if I kill her, immediately my reputation, the results of my pious activities and my duration of life will be finished. One interesting thing that is mentioned is the results of my pious activities. So obviously Kans had some pious activities in order for him to become a very powerful king. So sometimes we find that there's people who are very powerful and they have a lot of money, but in the present life, they misuse it. But they're getting the results of their past pious activities. So due to their minute independence, they misuse their power, then they will lose all their piety that they have accumulated. Just like a very simple example, supposing we are all free citizens of this country or some country, but if we act according to the law of the country, then we are fine. We can, have all the assets and all the millions and billions of dollars and everything. But if we go against the law and if we do some major criminal activity or some trafficking or anything like that, then the government can seize everything that we have collected. The cars, the boats, the RVs, the bank accounts, everything can be seized. Similarly, in the law of Krishna, all this is seized, even though one may have millions of lives of pious activities. When one commits offenses or one commits heinous acts of crime. So he says that my reputation will be tarnished. He further deliberated, a person who is too cruel is as good as dead, even in this lifetime. No one likes a cruel person during his lifetime. And after his death, people curse him. One quick point comes to my mind is, if you all know Idi Amin, who was that terrorist in Africa, right? He was such a horrible, we even heard that he was a cannibal. He used to eat the young flesh of very young children. And he was so demoniac, although he was so powerful. A lot of the Indians who were staying there in Kenya at that, or Uganda, sorry, Uganda at that time, they fled to UK, etc. And they were cursing Idi Amin, including the residents of Uganda. So similarly, Kansa is also thinking like that, that people will curse me, and I will be pushed to the darkest region of hell. Kans thus meditated on all the pros and cons of killing Devki at that time. Kamsa finally decided not to kill Devki right away, but to wait for the inevitable future. But his mind became absorbed in animosity against the personality of Godhead. He patiently waited for the delivery of the child, expecting to kill him, and as he had done previously with the other babies of Devki. So also there's one wonderful verse in the Brahma Samhita that what is that verse? Yam kama krodha pranayadi bhiti vatsalya moha guru gurus sanchitya tanu aparete govindamadi purusham tamam bhajavi. Persons are always thinking of Krishna, some of them with some desires, calm. Krodha, some of them are always constantly thinking of the Supreme Lord in anger or in anxiety, just like Kams was thinking. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur mentions in his purport of this particular verse that even the demons are always thinking of Krishna or the Supreme Lord. But the devotees are always thinking in a favorable way. That is the difference. And because the demons are also thinking of Krishna, they also get a certain liberation. They are not pushed to the bottom region of hell, but rather most of them, they get the Brahma Jyoti or the Sayujya Mukti. So, but Kans in particular, he got a place in Golok, along even Putna, because first of all, because he was the cousin of her mother, and also he was born in the line in this previous birth as Kalnemi in the line of Prahlad Maharaj, and Prahlad Maharaj was his pure devotee, so that special favor was shown to him. But most of the demons that are killed by Krishna or Krishna's avatars, they all get liberation as Sayujya Mukti, resident in the undifferentiated Brahman. So he patiently waited for the delivery of the child, expecting to kill him, and he had done previously with the other babies of Devki. Thus, being merged in an ocean of animosity against the personality of Godhead, he began to think of Krishna or Vishnu while sitting, while sleeping, while walking, while eating, while working. In all situations of his life, his mind became so much absorbed with the thought of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Another note to be made, Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his bhajan, if you have heard that bhajan, Gopinath Mama Nivedana Suno. In that bhajan he says, in the end, in the last verse, Pailo Charana Ashura Sakala, Pailo Charana Ashura Sakala, Vinode Thakilo Bhoshi Gopinath Mama Nivedana Shuno. Gopinath. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is praying because he composed this bhajan. He is fervently praying, Gopinath Mama Nivedana Suno. Please hear my fervent prayers, oh Gopinath. He's saying at the end, Pailo Charana Asura Sakal. These demons always thinking of you, always conscious of you, even though in animosity, they were so fortunate that they got your lotus feet. Like Kalia, Krishna danced with his lotus feet on his hoods. Kansa was kicked on his chest by Krishna. And like that, so many avatars of the Lord, they have killed many demons with their fist or with their lotus feet. So Pailo Charana Asura Sakala, all the demons have obtained your lotus feet. But this Bhakti Vinod Thakur is simply waiting for your mercy, and he's tirelessly waiting. We know that Thakilo Bosi. Thakilo means tirelessly waiting for your mercy. Just see the bhav of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So like this, Kans was constantly thinking of Krishna. He could see only Krishna and Vishnu around him. Unfortunately, although his mind was so absorbed in the thought of Vishnu, he is not recognized as a devotee because he was thinking of Krishna as an enemy. The state of mind of a great devotee is always absorbed in Krishna, but a devotee thinks of him favorably. Anukulena Krishna Anushilanam Tad Bhakti Ruttam, Narad Bhakti Sutra. And Rupa Goswami adopts that. Anya Vilasata Shunya Jnana Karma Anavritam, Anukulena Krishna Anushilanam Tad Bhakti Ruttam. Uttam Bhakti, or the topmost bhakti, is when we are of any bereft of zero, no jnana, no karma, none of that. And the positive thing is whatever gives Krishna pleasure, we must act accordingly. What is favorable to Krishna, that is Shuddha Bhakti, that is Uttam Bhakti. So, to think of Krishna favorably is Krishna consciousness. But to think of Krishna unfavorably is not Krishna consciousness. So at the time, Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, accompanied by the great sages like Narada and followed by many other demigods, invisibly appeared in the house of Kamsa. They began to pray to the Supreme Personality of Godhead in select verses, which are very pleasing to the devotee and which award fulfillment of their desires. The first words that they spoke acclaimed that the Lord is true to his vow. So, as we know, Haribol. So we find that these are the prayers of the demigods or the Devi Devtas appear in the jail, and they start praying because they recognize that Krishna is in the womb, and they are thinking that he is true to his word, the Lord, that he will appear as he had promised as Shiradaksai Vishnu through the sound vibration to Lord Brahma. The demigods could not understand that the demigods could understand that the Lord had taken birth, taken residence within the womb of Devaki to fulfill his vow. And they were very glad that the Lord was appearing in order to fulfill his mission. Then the demigods addressed the Lord as Satyam Param. Satyam Param, or the Supreme Absolute Truth. So even in the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, at the end of the first verse, Vyasadeva says Satyam Param Dhimahi. Dhimahi means I meditate upon. Satyam Param means the absolute truth. Why is Krishna, the Supreme Personality, the Godhead, the absolute truth? Because absolute truth is never subject to any changes, or it is not temporary. The truth that is there in this material world, something can be truth now, but in different circumstances, that truth is not the truth. It can change. But as far as the Supreme Lord is concerned, he is the absolute truth because everything emanates from him. He is the source of all the incarnations. So I stop here now. Hare Krishna. Thank you all very much. We will continue tomorrow. Tomorrow will be our last session. Shri Shri Radha Vrindaban Chandra ki Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai Shri Krishna Mahamotsav ki Jai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari. Thank you very much. Krishna.
Prabhu, I'm not disturbing you. Prabhu?
Yes.
I'm not disturbing you.
Okay, you're a very good boy, Krishna. Yes, Radha, you are also very good. Thank you for not disturbing me. Hare Krishna. Hari Bol. Om. Hari Bol. Okay, so Aarti has started. We have to keep quiet. Hari Bol. So thank you all very much for attending. I will talk to you on the phone. Hari Bol.